Easter eggs are gifts for children. But what few consider is, there are millions of other children, halfway across the globe, involved in making that gift. Each year, Americans consume about 91 million chocolate eggs during Easter, according to the National Confectioners Association. Most of the cocoa used to make these eggs comes from West Africa, where over 1.5 million children are working on cocoa farms, according to a 2020 study by the University of Chicago. At the other end of the supply chain are other children, in the US, Europe, eagerly unwrapping, eating, playing, never told where the chocolate began. So, are Easter eggs a joy, or a sweet paradox we've grown accustomed to not questioning? Before being made of chocolate and wrapped in foil, Easter eggs were real eggs, hard-boiled, dyed, and given as symbols of life and rebirth in Christian culture. This custom originated in medieval Europe, when eggs were forbidden during Lent and eaten again on Easter as a luxury after the fasting period. By the 19th century, as the chocolate industry flourished in England and Germany, chocolate eggs began to emerge. Initially, they were handcrafted into molds, reserved for the wealthy. But after World War II, with the boom in consumption and mass production, Easter eggs became a global mass-market product. In West Africa, which supplies over 60% of the world's cocoa pods don't fall into automated lines. Instead, they are manually cut with machetes, by seasonal farmers without long-term contracts, and in many cases by children not yet of school age. Nearly 2 million children work in the cocoa industry in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, according to a 2020 report by the U.S. Department of Labor. Although major chocolate companies have pledged to eliminate child labor since the 2000s, many investigations show this situation has not significantly changed. The global chocolate industry, worth over $130 billion, begins with a manual, fragmented supply chain vulnerable to climate change. Small plantations rely entirely on weather and global commodity prices, resulting in cocoa farmers often earning less than $1 per day. After harvesting, cocoa beans are fermented in banana leaves, sun-dried, then packed into sacks and shipped by sea to Europe or North America. On average, a cocoa bean travels between 6,000 to 9,000 kilometers, from small farms to modern refining factories. The paradox: the cost of cocoa raw materials accounts for less than 6% of the retail price of a premium chocolate bar, according to the Fairtrade Foundation. Meanwhile, most profits lie in branding, packaging, and distribution. Most consumers believe chocolate is pure cocoa. In reality, the product they eat is the result of a meticulously adjusted formula over many years, not only for ease of production, but also to suit mass taste preferences, shelf life, and large-scale production costs. After roasting and grinding, cocoa beans are pressed to separate into two parts: cocoa butter, the valuable fat that gives shine and a melting sensation in the mouth, and cocoa powder, which retains the bitter taste and characteristic brown color. However, because cocoa butter is expensive and spoils easily at high temperatures, many manufacturers have replaced a portion with vegetable oils like palm, coconut, or canola oil. Only products labeled as pure chocolate are bound not to use these substitutes. Beyond cocoa and fats, a medium-sized Easter egg contains an average of 18 to 22 grams of sugar, nearly the maximum daily sugar intake recommended for a child by the American Heart Association. Additionally, there's lecithin, often from genetically modified soybeans, to stabilize texture, synthetic vanilla flavoring to enhance aroma, and thermal stabilizers to prevent chocolate from melting during storage or transport, especially in hot and humid countries. If you think such stories should be told more, please like this video, so we know you want to see the rest of the truth. The egg shape isn't just a random choice. It's a carefully calculated economic strategy. Hollow eggs significantly save on materials, reduce weight while still maintaining a large and visually appealing appearance. A solid egg of the same size would consume double or even triple the amount of chocolate, making it unsuitable for mass production. In factories, rotational molding techniques are used. Liquid chocolate is poured into molds, then rotated evenly so a thin chocolate layer coats the surface, usually only 2 to 3 millimeters thick. This process takes just a few minutes, thanks to a forced cooling system behind. If the egg contains toys inside, these items are often cheap plastic products manufactured in China, India, or Vietnam, then assembled and packaged at the factory before being inserted between the two chocolate shell halves. This raises a question: is the Easter egg food or a packaged entertainment gift? The issue even extends beyond the law. In the US, the original Kinder eggs were once banned from sale for violating laws prohibiting food from containing non-edible objects inside. A product intended for children, yet facing questions about safety and legal classification. After molding, chocolate eggs are polished with a substance called shellac, a natural resin extracted from shellac bugs living in India or Thailand. To produce 1 kilogram of shellac, about 100,000 insects need to be collected. Although recognized as safe by the FDA, many animal protection organizations oppose the use of shellac in food, especially food aimed at children. Next is the foil layer, printed using offset or flexo technology, coated with a thin metallic layer to create shine, moisture resistance, crack prevention, and enhance the premium feel. But the most decisive factor lies in packaging design. In supermarkets, consumers have only a few seconds to choose, and it's the images of cartoon characters, superheroes, princesses, or virtual pets that make Easter eggs more of a brand identity product than food. In reality, the packaging, though inedible, accounts for 15 to 25% of the cost of an egg. In a fiercely competitive and seasonal market, the outer shell is sometimes more important than the inside. Easter eggs appear only about 4 to 6 weeks each year, yet consumption far exceeds many year-round products. In the US alone, according to the National Confectioners Association, each Easter season sees 90 to 95 million chocolate eggs sold, not to mention related products like chocolate bunnies or mini eggs. And at the end of the supply chain, consumers peel off the glittering foil and eat the sweet melting chocolate. But how many think about the journey spanning tens of thousands of kilometers, across 3 continents, thousands of workers, and countless unanswered questions? And if the egg is a symbol of resurrection, then which pastry is associated with death? The answer lies in a small, sweet bun, marked with a cross. Hot cross buns. Hot cross buns were once ritual baked goods, now sold 6 to a pack, lining Walmart shelves every holiday season. But did you know? To extend shelf life, many commercial versions no longer contain real milk or butter. Hot cross buns have existed since at least the 14th century in England. Originally, they were small sweet rolls, with a soft crust, filled with raisins, and marked with a cross on top, a symbol of Jesus' crucifixion. They were traditionally baked only on Good Friday, used in religious rituals, and were once banned from being sold in markets for being too sacred to commercialize. By the 18th century, the ban was lifted. Hot cross buns became widely popular, associated with Easter, springtime, and festive eating habits. The shape remained the same, but the recipe and role of the bun evolved with the times. So how is that cross-marked bun made today on an industrial production line? At a food factory in Illinois, tons of flour, sugar, dry yeast, and vegetable oil are poured into large stainless steel mixing vats. Instead of butter and fresh milk like in traditional recipes, many commercial manufacturers use vegetable oils, typically palm or hydrogenated soybean oil, and milk powder or whey protein. According to the U.S. packaged food industry, replacing fresh ingredients with stable dry components has extended the average shelf life of buns from 2 to 3 days to 7 to 10 days at room temperature. This is extremely important in large-scale distribution, where products travel thousands of kilometers and must still look fresh when they reach the consumer. However, not all manufacturers choose this route. Some brands still use real butter and fresh milk, accepting shorter shelf lives and higher costs, to retain the rich aroma and natural moist texture that discerning eaters can instantly recognize. Which ingredients are used depends on the production goals, target market, and brand positioning. So if you really want to know what kind of bun you're eating, industrial or traditional, check the ingredient list on the packaging, not just the image of the bun. Once mixed, the dough is transferred to a high-capacity kneading machine. This system not only mixes but also controls elasticity, helping the gluten develop properly to create soft, chewy buns. The kneading and proofing time, which traditionally takes hours in a bakery, is significantly shortened here. Thanks to enzymes and dough conditioners, Fermentation is accelerated to just 20 to 30 minutes, enough for the dough to rise to industrial standards without the need for constant manual oversight. Raisins or dried fruits are added at the final stage. In large-scale operations, this is not done by hand, but through a dosing system that ensures even distribution of the filling among thousands of dough balls. Some factories use fruit paste pellets or restructured fruits, not only because they are 30 to 40% cheaper than whole raisins, but also because they retain their shape better after baking, a quality highly valued in the packaged food industry. From a large dough mass, a dividing machine precisely cuts each piece to about 65 to 75 grams, then automatically rounds them and lines them up on a conveyor belt. More than 100 dough balls can be processed per minute, enabling factories to meet peak seasonal demand. The cross, a religious symbol, is not cut with a knife but created using an automated nozzle. The system sprays a mixture made from rice flour or cornstarch and water, thick enough to hold its shape during baking. For frozen buns, some brands use industrial shaping creams containing xanthan gum to keep the cross from cracking during freezing and thawing. This is something hardly anyone notices, but helps the buns appear consistently attractive on store shelves wherever you buy them. The buns are placed in a conveyor oven, where the temperature is precisely controlled in different zones. The oven can be 20 to 30 meters long, divided into thermal chambers that control rising, crust color, and moisture levels. Baking typically takes 10 to 14 minutes at 190 to 200 degrees Celsius, depending on the recipe. Infrared sensors continuously measure the bun's surface color, allowing real-time adjustments to heat, a technology not available in traditional ovens. Right after baking, the buns are sprayed with a sugar syrup or industrial glaze, both to create a glossy look and to retain surface moisture. Some glazes also contain mild preservatives to prevent mold or dryness for 7 to 10 days at room temperature. Once cooled, the buns move to the packaging section. Each tray usually holds 4, 6, or 8 buns, tightly wrapped in shrink film or resealable plastic bags. For frozen products, buns go through a quick freezer at -35 degrees Celsius to preserve texture and flavor. A standard production line can package over 20,000 buns per hour, enough to supply the entire national distribution network with just a few days of peak production. Thanks to controlled temperature, humidity, and timing, the final product typically has a shelf life of 7 to 10 days if stored normally, or up to 90 days if frozen. At the supermarket, you'll see dozens of variations. Traditional, chocolate chip, citrus, Even mini hot cross buns packed as snacks. Still bearing the cross, but the recipe, texture, and consumer purpose have evolved. Hot cross buns once carried religious meaning. Now they are a modified recipe designed to survive on supermarket shelves. So what about lamb? A meat once considered luxurious, but now gradually disappearing from American dinner tables. What's going on? Americans eat more than 27 kilograms of beef each year, but only about 0.4 kilograms of lamb. Why has a meat once associated with holidays, fine dining, and European agricultural heritage become a strange meat on American soil? The reason isn't just about taste, it's also about supply chains, pricing, agricultural policy, and the image of sheep in popular culture. Lamb was once a staple in ancient Europe and was brought to America by the British, Irish, and Middle Eastern immigrants. Throughout the 19th century, sheep were raised not just for wool, but also as a primary protein source in many rural areas of the United States. However, entering the 20th century, lamb gradually gave way to beef and chicken, which were cheaper, easier to cook, and promoted through large-scale marketing campaigns. The World Wars, the Beef for Victory campaign, and the image of lamb associated with Easter led to lamb being boxed in as a seasonal dish, instead of an everyday food. So what has caused lamb to gradually vanish from American plates? And where does it stand in today's industrial food system? In the US, sheep farming currently accounts for less than 1% of total red meat production, according to USDA data from 2023, a number so small that many people forget lamb even exists in the American food industry. Unlike beef production, which is systematically organized with millions of cattle and a massive supply chain network, sheep are mostly raised in small-scale farms scattered across states like Texas, California, Wyoming, and Utah. While cows and pigs are raised industrially with standardized processes, from artificial insemination to grain-rich diets and growth enhancers, sheep are typically semi-free range, grazing on grass or grains, and are given fewer antibiotics. This makes lamb seem more natural, but on the flip side, it results in a supply chain that's hard to standardize and scale up. Most farms raise only a few hundred animals for meat, wool, or breeding purposes. Many still follow traditional methods: natural reproduction, seasonal shearing, and sales without fixed contracts with major distribution chains. As a result, production is low and unstable, making it difficult for lamb to be regularly available in major supermarket systems, which require steady supply, predictable pricing, and industrial-level food safety compliance. When sheep are ready for market, they are transported to slaughterhouses, often small facilities or halal kosher-specific operations. Lamb slaughterhouses in the U.S. are far fewer than those for beef and pork. Many animals are processed at small facilities serving Middle Eastern, Greek, or immigrant communities with a tradition of lamb consumption. At large plants, the process is similar to cattle: stunning, bleeding, cleaning, carcass splitting, grading. But due to lower volumes, the cost of slaughtering per lamb is 2 to 3 times higher than for beef. This is one of the links that drives up the price of lamb, even though the farming costs aren't particularly high. And since Americans aren't used to eating lamb regularly, the low demand also means slaughterhouses can't justify investing in large-scale processing lines. After slaughter, lamb is butchered into basic cuts: ribs, legs, shoulders, breasts. However, unlike beef, which is divided into dozens of steak types, lamb generally offers just a few familiar options. At processing facilities, some meat is sold fresh, while the rest is turned into ground lamb, sausages, or frozen products, mostly for Middle Eastern, Mediterranean restaurants, or religious holiday meals. There aren't many ready-to-eat options like lamb burgers, lamb nuggets, or convenient frozen meals, simply because consumers aren't looking for them, and manufacturers lack the incentive to develop such products. Lamb is packaged into simple portions, vacuum-packed cuts, trays, or whole frozen legs. With domestic supply too unstable, more than 50% of the lamb sold in the US comes from New Zealand and Australia, where sheep are raised on an industrial scale, with lower costs and specialized global distribution chains. Conversely, many American retailers don't keep lamb on shelves regularly, except for serving immigrant communities or during holidays. This makes lamb invisible to the general US consumer, leading to a reverse effect: unseen, unfamiliar, unpurchased, unsold. The average American eats less than 1 pound, about 0.45 kilograms, of lamb per year, according to the USDA, compared to over 60 pounds of beef and 100 pounds of chicken. Lamb is mostly present in religious celebrations, cultural events, and immigrant communities, not in everyday menus. Chefs and food influencers have tried to refresh the image of lamb by introducing easy recipes or emphasizing the clean eating differently aspect. But consumer habits change slowly, especially when there is a lack of promotion, shelf presence, and competitive pricing. No food is entirely good or bad. There are only things we haven't looked closely enough at. Maybe the next time you see an Easter egg, you'll wonder, how much of it is real chocolate and how much is marketing? Or when you see lamb on a menu, you'll remember that sometimes the least common things are the ones most worth exploring. What do you think? Easter eggs, lamb, or cocoa? What surprised you the most today? Leave a comment, share your thoughts, and if you enjoy this journey of discovery, don't forget to subscribe to the Captain Discovery channel. Every video is a gateway into the backstage world of industrial food.